are three different forms that you may see a quadratic equation in. One is standard form, one is vertex form, and one is intercept form. Each one has its advantages and disadvantages. Okay, so in standard form, you will see your equation written like this. AX squared plus BX plus C. Okay. You hate what? I'm going to try to make this a little bit bigger. Okay. Your A, B, and C values are what you're going to use to find key features. Okay. So you'll have an A value. A will equal something. B will equal something. And C will equal something. Okay. Again, A is always your value in front of X squared. B is always your value in front of X. And C is always your value left by itself. Okay. From standard form, we can find that axis of the vertical line that cuts your graph in half. To find that, X will equal, you negate your B, and we divide by 2. Bless you. Bless you. We divide by 2 times your A value. Okay. We are going to do examples, but right now we're just trying to get down what we need. Okay. Once you have your axis of symmetry, you can find your entire vertex. Okay. Your vertex. Your X value of your vertex is the value that you get from here. So this value goes here. Okay. Once you get that value, we plug X into your equation. And solve for Y. Okay. The answer that you get here goes here. Okay. So once you plug in X, the answer that you get becomes the Y part of your vertex.
Why is there a second parentheses?
Because that's the value that you're plugging into the equation. And to separate it from everything else, it needs to be in a set of parentheses.
Oh, your head. Your head bigger than my head.
Okay, your miscellaneous section. Okay, we can also get your y-intercept. Okay, from your equation, your y-intercept. Remember, if you're on the y, your x value is always 0, and your y value will be whatever your c value is from your equation. So if you had to graph this from standard form, what you will have, draw yourself an XY axis, draw yourself a parabola in there. Okay. What you get from standard form is the line that cuts it in half. Okay, so your axis of symmetry. You will get your vertex. and you will get your y-intercept. Those are the three easiest things to get from standard form.
They use one of my bathroom taxes already.
I'm not sure right now.
Jackson over Rachel. Well, your name's smart.
Okay. We'll do an example in your notebook after we glue this in.
All that profanity is uncalled for. Gotta wax my opera. Fill it off.
I have no words, Stefan. I have no words.
Sometimes you just gotta hear.
Okay. Anybody still need this up?
So we glue this on bed.
Hold on, we're not done yet. We're gonna fill this all out because this gets folded and glued in a certain way. Okay. All right. Your next form is in vertex form. What do you think vertex form is gonna give us?
Vertex.
The vertex. Okay. So vertex form is A times X minus H, that entire thing squared, plus K. Notice this is still a quadratic because we still have my X term squared. Okay. When you're looking for a quadratic from an equation, you're looking for your highest X to be a X squared. Okay. Your axis of symmetry then is X equals opposite H. Okay. So what I mean by that is if I have X minus H, my H value is positive. If I have X plus H, my H value is negative. Okay. You always want to do what's opposite inside of the parentheses. Okay. If you can understand this, when you get to math 3, the rest of your formulas and stuff are going to be easy.
I have a question.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Because when you get into your absolute values, your vertex form is exactly the same thing, but instead of having the parentheses, you have your absolute value signs. Okay, so this will follow you all through math 3. Okay. Your vertex then is opposite H. So the value that we get here goes here, comma, whatever your K value is. Because again, you told me vertex form should give me my vertex. Well, it does. Flat out. Your H value and your K value. Unfortunately, this form doesn't give us really anything else. So there really is no other miscellaneous information that this form will give you. So when we graph all that this form gives you, okay, is your axis of symmetry. And your vertex. Okay. That's all this form is going to give you. Okay. We have one more form. It's called intercept form. What do you think that's going to give us?
Intercept.
Your x-intercepts. Okay. So your intercept form. Sorry. That's fine. If I ever move the paper and you're not done, just let me know. We'll slow down.
Done.
Done now.
No, can I finish? To be worried about that last.
Good. Stefan's still writing.
All right, I'm done.
You done? Okay. Your intercept form looks like this. A times x minus a number times x minus another number. Okay. Just like vertex form, whatever's in the parentheses is going to go opposite. So if you have h minus p, your p value, or I'm sorry, x minus p, not h. X minus p, your p value should be positive at the end.
What's that first one?
It should be positive p. Okay. This should be x minus p. And your p should be positive. If you have x plus p, that means your p value is negative. Same thing goes for q. So if I have x minus q, my q value is actually positive. And if I have x plus q, my q value is actually negative.
Okay.
So always opposite. And why this happens is when you have it in parentheses, you actually set them equal to 0. So if I have something like x plus 2, I would set it equal to 0. How would I solve for x now? How do I get x by itself? What was it? Subtract 2. Remember, to cross your line, because most of you were taught to draw your line down your equal sign. To cross your line, you have to do the opposite. So if it's positive over here, we have to subtract it to move it over here. So then we're left with x, and that equals negative 2. So again, if it's positive in the parentheses, it becomes negative outside of it. Okay, to find your axis of symmetry from this equation, you add your p and q, and we divide by 2. So x equals p plus q divided by 2. Okay. To go from axis of symmetry to vertex, your axis of symmetry becomes the x value of your vertex. So whatever value you get here, again, goes here. When you have your x value to find your y, we plug x into the equation. And solve for y. And then this value goes there. F just means your function. So that just tells you whatever's inside those parentheses next to F is what you plug in for x to solve for. The last thing that this form tells you is your x-intercepts. Okay, so you have intercepts at 0, comma p and 0, comma q. I'm sorry, these are your x-intercepts. My bad. I'm having an off day today too. P comma O and Q comma O. Okay. These are your x-intercepts. So it's P comma the number and Q comma the number. So out of all of your forms, this one actually I think is the best form. Okay, so on next week, we're going to learn how to go from standard form to this form. So the information that you can use to graph this one then. From this equation, you know your axis of symmetry. You know your vertex. And you know your x-intercepts. Once you're done with that, we're going to glue this piece in once we fold it and finish cutting it. And then we're going to do 3 examples. All right. Give everybody a minute to finish up. Gentlemen, we shouldn't be eating in class anymore. The time for grab and go is done. I know, we're going to fold it. Hold on, CJ. All right. So you're going to start with the side that says graph, the last side that we did. You're going to take it and fold it over top of miscellaneous. We're going to fold this like an accordion. So you have folded that one forward. Then you're going to turn it and fold it backward. And fold it the whole way across like an accordion. So when you make the second fold, it should look like this. Fold it over again. So when you're done, it should look like this.
Forward and backwards.
Which way?
Forward and backwards. Forward.
No.
I got it.
Over.
It's gonna look like that. Just like that. Yeah, that's right.
Go ahead, do it. You said do it like this.
Look, you go over, and you go under vertex, over X, and then you go under the side. Ain't this right? Yes, sir. Right.
This dude said this one.
Who?
Anybody else?
Yeah.
CJ, who is Miss Lee?
That's the word on the paper, you dummy. I don't know what it is.
That was at Miss Lee.
She said Miss Lee. Bro, I want to walk out so bad right now.
Why?
You ain't bad. Because I'm already irritated. You ain't bad.
You don't know how to spell irritated.
I-double-R. Nigga, that's something easy.
What?
I didn't spell it. You just said I-double-R. That is not wrong.
I said keep going.
I don't feel like
I spelled it to the point where you know I'm not spelling.
Spell it.
Come on.
Okay. This is going to glue in.
Page 38.
Page 38, as close to the left-hand side as possible.
Yeah.
Okay. It's going to go as close to this left-hand side as possible. Because we're going to do examples on the right-hand side.
Can I use some of that rubber glove?
No.
Use some of that tar. She's hungry.
She said no. She got one legs.
Guess what? They call me Miss Glass.
They call me Pet. That boy. The Jesus man.
Jesus on pieces, bro. Jesus piece. Everybody know it's him. If you want to leave, if you don't, I don't know. Don't tell me that they will join.
X squared plus 4x.
Let it go. Hang out like that.
What?
Oh, you heard
38.
Yes. My bad.
Yeah,
I got 38 Jesus class.
bro, I created this part last night, bro.
So you put it on page 37?
Bro, 38.
Hold on. Come on, bro.
Like,
No, 37.
So all of your odd ones will be on the right-hand side. All of your even will be on the left.
It won't come on.
All right. What'd you do? What'd you do?
Right, but still, this made me mad.
What'd you do?
I flew it on this 37 left of it.
The back side should always be 38.
Your
back side should be even.
Wait, this should be 38?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, we're gonna fix your life.
So you go down
We'll do that for now, so we have it, so you don't lose it.
Oh, it's funny, Sienna. You're hilarious.
Okay.
Oh, is it funny, Grace? How's it
It's
funny?
not, but it's damn.
Okay.
But it means.
You laughing at my pay?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is exactly what I was talking about and why we can't get anything done. Please stop talking and pay attention. Here is your standard form of a quadratic equation. How do I know that this is quadratic? Looking at this equation, how do you know it's quadratic?
Because the x is squared and the second number
Okay.
has an x in front of it.
You've got x squared.
Let's sit down some music on this, bro.
We've got an x squared. That's what tells us this is a quadratic. So when you see standard form like this, the first thing I want you to do is find your a, b, and c value. A is the number in front of x squared. What number is there? It's a 1. Whenever there is nothing written in front of a variable, your coefficient is a 1. My b value is in front of your x. What value is b? Positive 4. And finally, your c value is what's just added or subtracted at the end. What is my c value? Negative 8. Okay.
Good job.
Please make sure you take the sign in front of your numbers. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to find is my axis of symmetry. Okay. So my axis of symmetry, I take negative b and I divide by 2a. So we're going to plug in the numbers you just found and solve this. So I'm plugging in negative and then I'm putting in a b. What was my b value? 4. And then I'm going to divide that by 2 times my a value, which was 1. Okay. So negative 4 divided by, what's 2 times 1? 2. Okay, so we've got negative 4 divided by 2, which is what? What's negative 4 divided by 2? Negative 2. So your axis of symmetry is at x equals -2. That's your first piece of information you can get.
Math works in serious ways.
That's your axis of symmetry. So if you want to draw a line down to it so you know what that is, that's fine.
But what is that spell? Wait, what is it? A of FS or A of
A of S, axis of symmetry.
Okay.
The next piece we can find is your vertex. Your vertex automatically starts with -2 because that's my axis of symmetry. Okay, to find your y value now, we're going to take this value and replace all of your x's with this value. So this becomes -2 squared plus 4. I'm replacing this x also with -2.
No fingers.
Okay.
Oh,
So -2x, and we're squaring it because that's x squared, plus 4 times your x value, which again is -2, minus 8. Best part is you don't have to think from here. In your calculator, plug this in exactly the way you see it. Parentheses and all. Okay. You're going to plug this into your calculator, parentheses and all. And get an answer.
What?
-12. Okay. So we finish up your vertex as -2, -12. The last piece of information you get from this form is your y-intercept. Your y-intercept is always 0, your c value. So my y-intercept in this case is 0, -8.
Oh,
Perfect. That's it for standard form.
Oh, I ain't see it.
You just need the y-intercept, Marlon?
Yes.
Hey, CJ.
Okay.
So,
I want to see the player.
oh.
Okay. When you have it in vertex form, I need you to identify 2 things. So let's do 3 times x plus 2 squared plus 6. Okay. This is your vertex form of a quadratic. Okay. The first thing I want you to do when you get this form is find your h value and your k value. Remember, your h value is inside of the parentheses. It's always opposite. So if I have x plus 2, h is actually what? -2. My k value is what? +6.
yeah, boy.
So what this tells me is my axis of symmetry is x equals h. So my axis of symmetry is x equals -2. This also gives me my vertex. Your vertex is h, k. So my vertex here is -2, +6. That's it for vertex form.
Do you get this grace?
Yes, I do.
Standard form is,
Or do you not get
it can be rough. Tomorrow, we're actually going to go over how to find all this on a calculator. So you won't ever have to use this again.
it?
I will show you the easy tomorrow. But I need to give you all of the tools. So I try to do the hard stuff and then the easy stuff because then you guys are like, oh, it's not that bad. Y'all hate me at the beginning, but once we get to the easy stuff, you're like, oh, okay, I can handle
This right
this.
here makes my head hurt.
Math in general makes most of your heads hurt,
Yeah, well, especially mine.
especially your head.
I don't you work too much. I already got cobwebs from last year.
You already got what?
I already got cobwebs from last year. I don't know what he was doing.
Yo, she has to get everybody.
That is
As
bad.
strong as it has to be. Bing. Ah. Why you gotta supposed to kick that leg? You ain't kick it nothing.
Okay,
Oops.
here is intercept form. Okay,
Oh yeah, I know this.
you still know that this is a quadratic because you'll end up with x times x. Everybody was taught the FOIL method, correct?
I think so, yeah.
Or did they teach you the box method on how to multiply?
Box.
All right, we'll stick with box method in here then. We will stick with box method if that's what you're used to. FOIL, where you
Please don't get me.
multiply the first terms, the inner terms, the outer terms, the last terms.
I did both. Well, I did like that in like 8th grade, but last year I did the other.
The box method.
Yeah.
Right.
We'll pick one and stick with it. It'll be easier than trying to alternate between the two.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the first thing I want you to find when it's an intercept form is your p-value, which is the value in the first set of parentheses, and then your q-value. Remember, when it's in parentheses, we must do what? If I have x minus 4, my actual value is what? Positive. It's always opposite. It's opposite of what's in here. So I have x minus 4. So this is actually a positive 4. We would multiply through to get it into standard form from here. We want to leave it in intercept form. I understand where you're going, but that's not where we're going right now. Okay. X plus 6. If I have x plus 6, my actual value is negative 6. Okay. So, first things first, axis of symmetry. To get my axis of symmetry, I take my p-value, add it to my q-value, and divide by 2. So, I have 4 plus negative 6, and I take that value and divide by 2.
PG.
What's 4 plus negative 6?
-2.
Negative 2.
You don't get Jesus.
What's negative 2 divided by 2 then? Negative 1.
-1.
Okay. So your axis of symmetry is at x equals negative 1.
Oh no, this don't look right. What's that? This is too much. I don't like this. I like that.
Vertex form is probably the easiest to do
Yeah.
because there's really no like solving to it. Standard and intercept actually take some work. Okay. To get your vertex then, my x value of my vertex is the number from my axis of symmetry. So I start with negative 1. To get my y value then, I replace my x's with this negative 1. So this is the end of the hard stuff, I promise. 2 times negative 1 minus 4 and negative 1 plus 6.
I just got a question. So you no.
Okay, so this is actually 2 times, what's negative 1 minus 4? If you start at -1 and you go 4 in the negative direction, where do I end up on?
-5.
-5.
Wait, CJ.
Okay. If I have -1 plus 6, what is that value?
I'm finna get mad. This is just keep on the paper.
+5. -1 plus 6. We start at -1 and go 6 in the positive direction. That gives me +5. So 2 times -5 times 5. So what's 2 times -5? -10 times 5 is -50. And this value goes here. And that's your Y value. Okay. The last thing this tells us is my x-intercepts. There's no solving to this. X-intercepts are P, 0 and Q, 0. So that means my x-intercepts are at 4, 0 and -6, 0.
You got me writing cracks and stuff.
Okay, so tell me this. Is it actually hard or is it just too much work?
Too much work.
Too much work. Oh, because it's positive.
Right. Okay. We have one more thing we've got to do today. I guarantee you we can finish this in probably. Yes. All you do is take it from here. Mhm. Okay. This should take us no more than 10 minutes, which gives you 20 minutes to start on your homework tonight. Okay. Tomorrow, I expect you to come in, get your computers, get your warm-up done. We can get started earlier, and you will have plenty of time to work on what you need to work on. Okay. All right. So you need the piece that says recognizing quadratics from a table. Please use the one where it's bigger, because I know I printed on the back-hand side by accident. Okay. So use the one where it's bigger. Don't use the little teeny tiny ones because you're not going to be able to see it. And it's going to get cut in half.
No.
So we're writing on this side. We're writing on this side. See how I accidentally, I made it too small. So I blew it up.
So
Cut it in
care
half.
about the back.
No, you don't care about the back. We're gluing that back on.
I'm gonna say because I want to trim.
You all right?
Yeah, you know he weird.
No, I tripped over her
You
book
tripped over
bag.
something.
I tripped over her book and had to take a 2-step.
I'm gonna trim it with you guys.
That's fine. You can trim it up. Don't trim it up too much because you're going to write on the right-hand side. So you might want to wait until we write what we need to write in here
Okay.
before you start trimming up. But yes, you're welcome to. Okay. Just cut it in half. You can fold it, rip it in half, or cut it in half. It doesn't matter to me. Okay. The only thing I want to do today is if I give you a table of values, I want you to be able to tell me it's a linear function, it's a quadratic function, or it's neither.
I
Got you. You should already know what a linear looks like. Okay. It tells you at the top what we're doing. If your first difference is the same value, the model will be linear. If your second difference is the same value, then it is quadratic. So what I mean by that, let's start with the first one on the left here. I'm going to blow this up as big as I can here so everybody can see. Okay. All right. So we're looking in terms of your Y values. So we're going to take the difference of your Y values. So this is your first difference. What do I get when I take 10 minus 7? 3. What do I get when I take 7 minus 4?
3.
What about 4 minus 1? 1 minus negative 2.
3.
Negative 2 minus negative 5.
3.
Are all those numbers the same?
Yes.
This is a linear function. Okay. Because we found the pattern and they were all the same when we did the first round of differences, that's what makes this linear. Okay, so the one on the left here is a linear function. Questions? Did that kind of come back from last year?
It came back. Came back from 8th grade.
8th grade? What was so bad about last year? You didn't learn nothing?
Mr. Buddy cannot.
Hey, bro, you gotta hop on my dad.
I'm hopping.
He can teach.
She's been recording. My name's Charles.
Your name's Charles. All right, let's see about this one. What if I take 4 minus 3? 1. 3 minus 2 is?
1.
1. What's 2 minus 3?
Less 1.
It's a negative 1. 2 minus 3 is a negative 1. What's 3 minus 6? Negative 3. And 6 minus 11? Negative 5.
Smith,
Yes, sir.
may I have Amaya to the main office, please?
Who?
Amaya, thank you.
It's second block, not third.
Wrong class.
Oh, dang.
You was sitting on the phone like that.
Okay, so is this linear?
No.
No, these aren't the same.
It's not.
So, hold on. Let's see if it's quadratic. If it's quadratic, we're going to do this again. What's 1 minus 1?
0.
0. What's 1 minus negative 1?
Wait, 0.
Mm-mm.
Negative 2.
It's positive 2. Remember. Hold on.
You don't get to do it.
This is 1 minus negative 1. Minus a negative becomes plus a positive, which makes this a 2. Okay. So the next one, it's going to be negative 1 minus negative 3.
Oh.
So this becomes plus a positive, so you actually have negative 1 plus 3, which gives you 2.
I never learned that. I didn't either.
Well, I'm glad I could help.
That's the first.
Okay, so this is a 2. And then again, this one is negative 3 minus 5. So negative 3 minus negative 5. This becomes plus a positive, which is a 2. Do all of these numbers match?
No.
Yeah.
There's a 0.
There's a 0 here. So this is neither. This one is neither. It would have been fine if this would have been a 2, but it's not. So that's what makes that neither.
I'm gonna hit the girls now.
He's on a roll and he ain't butter.
And I finally get it.
What, the concept or my joke?
The joke.
Oh, okay.
I get this too. I can't believe
Oh,
it.
man.
All right. Other side of the paper. We're going to start up here. Okay. What's 50 minus 75?
Where you at?
Other side of the paper. Negative 25. Okay.
That's 25.
Guys, up here.
Negative.
Up here.
Yeah. Still say no.
Okay. 75 to 100.
Negative 25.
Negative 25.
Negative 25.
Negative 25.
All the way down here.
All the way down, Charles says, is negative 25. So, do all of these numbers match?
Yeah.
This is linear.
Lynn.
Lynn. I'd take Lynn.
What's that supposed to mean?
You don't want the Lynn. Hey, Lynn said it here. That's the phone.
She gotta smack me. Okay, now to the next one. 4 to 6. That's negative 2.
Let's go to the right.
6 to 6 is 0.
Okay. So, Charles says 4 to negative 6 is a negative 2. 4 minus 6 is negative 2.
6 to 6 is 0.
6 minus 6 is 0.
Plus 2.
6 minus 4 is a positive 2. 4 minus 0,
Negative
4.
I'm tweaking. My fault.
And 0 minus negative 6.
Negative 6.
Mm-mm.
Positive 6.
Positive 6. It's 0. Hold on. Hold up. This is 0 minus negative 6. Remember, minus a negative turns into plus a positive. So this value is 6.
Got him.
Is this linear?
No.
No. Let's try for quadratic now.
Let's go.
What's negative 2
2.
minus 0? Mm-mm. Negative 2 minus 0 is negative 2. Okay.
That's positive 2 right here.
0 minus 2.
2.
Negative 2.
2 to 4. Minus
2 minus 4.
Negative 2.
Negative 2. 4 minus 6.
Negative 2.
Negative 2.
Neither.
Okay.
It's-
Hold on. Did I do all these match?
Yeah.
In the second difference. So this is a quadratic table. Okay. If it happens the first time you do it, it's linear. If it happens the second time, it is quadratic. Okay. If it doesn't happen either of those times, it's neither.
Okay,
We're not talking about the rest of it yet. Okay. Let's go down to the bottom here. Okay. You may want to plug these into your calculator because there's a decimal. That's okay. What's 10 minus 2.5?
8.5. 7.5.
7.5.
Oh, hold on. Oh, yeah, that's right.
What is 2.5 minus 0?
Negative 2.5. No.
Hold on. Positive 2.5. 0 minus 2.5.
Negative 2.
Negative 2.5. 2.5 minus 10.
Negative 7.
Negative 7.5. And 10 minus 22.5.
That's
Negative
That's
12.
negative 11. 11.5. I think.
Negative what?
Negative 12.
Negative 12.5.
Dang, I wanted that answer so bad. I wanted the answer.
Charles, take a deep breath and slow down because you got it. You try to go too fast and then you mess yourself up.
So you're wrong.
Take a breath and focus. You got this.
I wanted that one.
Okay, so is this linear? No. Let's try for quadratic. What is 7.5 minus 2.5? 5. What is 2.5 minus negative 2.5?
5.
5. Remember, hold on. We're going to go over it again. 2.5 minus negative 2.5. This becomes plus a positive, which makes it 5. Okay.
5.
Be careful with your minus negatives. What's negative 2.5 minus 7.5? This is
Negative
5.
10. Oh, no.
Minus negative 7.5.
Yeah.
Okay. And negative 7.5 minus 12.5 is also 5. What kind of a function is this?
Quadratic.
Quadratic. Fantastic. This is a quad.
Stop messing with them before they get back here, bro. Leave me alone.
Okay. One more, and we're done with notes. Okay. What is negative 27 minus negative 8?
Y'all got that, girl.
Negative 19.
How much one bet this is gonna be neither?
Negative 19. Is that what we're taking guesses on? Neither?
Yep.
Negative 8 minus negative 1.
Six.
Negative 7. Negative 1 minus 0. Negative 1. 0 minus 1. Positive 1. 1 minus 8. Negative 7. Okay. It's not linear. Let's move on. Negative 19 minus negative 7.
Negative 12.
Negative 12. Negative 7 minus negative 1.
Negative 6.
Negative 6. Uh-oh.
I told you.
It's automatically nothing. So this is neither. You can continue. This is negative 2. And this is positive 8. Okay. So yes, you took bets. That was a neither.
I should have betted it.
You should have betted it.
Yeah. So I know. 1, 2. put a one in it.